Hi everybody. All right, well we're back at the home page again, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the project assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the modules and point out a couple of interesting things about the projects. First off, I decided to make sure everything was in the modules that I could possibly squeeze into the modules this quarter to kind of reduce a little bit of confusion I've experienced in previous quarters. As a function of that, I may have introduced a little bit of confusion to the modules. So bear with me. Okay, so here we have, I've got all my modules expanded. You may go through and collapse yours if you want, but I've expanded mine. So you'll look at week 1 and week 2. You'll notice it says project 1 at the bottom of week 1, and it says project 1 at the bottom of week 2. If you look over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you see the due dates. So everything in week 1 is due by, in this class, January 6th. Everything in week 2 is due by, well, we've got a 13, we got a 14, and we got a 15, right? So obviously, project 1 really belongs in module 2. But what I did was, because you have 2 weeks between modules, and because I want to encourage you to work earlier rather than later, I thought, well, I'm going to put the project 1 link here in week 1, so that you can get started on it if you want to, because early is fine. You're more than welcome to submit materials early. And then I also put it into week 2, so that if you decide you don't want to get started on it until it's closer to its due date, it's down there in the correct module for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the project 1 link. And what you'll find is when you open the assignment, the list of choices is right here, and it is a long list of choices. Again, I mentioned in my last video, I love to give you guys choices. So I'm hoping that you'll look through the whole list and pick one that looks interesting to you, because I have given you a choice of 12 topics to work from, and you only have to pick one. I do not give extra credit for doing more. I don't usually reward people for not following my instructions. I like you to do what I've asked you to do. So pick one from the following list of 12 in this case. And to make it more obvious where a topic begins, I put each topic, I numbered it, put a number sign, and put it in green bold font. Okay, so that should make it pretty obvious. So this first one, 20th century's most eminent psychologists, you read a little bit, you see the name of the 25 most eminent psychologists, and then in red italics, I listed your actual assignment. Choose one of the psychologists, write a short biography, should include but not be necessarily limited to, and then I've given you some constraints here. And my nosiest question, I'm sorry, I'm a psychologist. I always love to know why you pick stuff, what you were thinking, blah, blah. Okay. Number 2, naturalistic observation in the dining hall. I kind of set you up, and then I've told you again in red italics what you really need to do. Number 3 is the placebo effect. I've given you a video to watch about the healing touch and what the concept is with therapeutic touch. Here's your data collection sheet that you can print out and use to collect your data. Here are your step-by-step instructions. So I'm telling you step-by-step what to do. And then in the red italics, again, is what I expect you to report to me. Okay, so you see a theme. Here's number 4. This is a statistical assignment. And so I've given you the numbers that you need. And then I've given you in red italics what you would need to submit to me. Number 5 is hemispheric specialization. Number 6 is penny for your thoughts, asking people what they were thinking about right before they saw you. Sleep IQ test. This is one where people mess up a little bit, because in this one, you take the sleep IQ test and then you answer my questions that are in red italics. You do not give me your sleep IQ test. You tell me your answers to those questions. Here's the Epworth sleepiness scale. Again, you take the scale. You score yourself. It tells you how to score yourself. And then you answer my questions in red italics about the test. So I never want to see your answers to surveys. I want to hear your analysis of the surveys. And the reason why you take the survey is that you can answer the questions from the perspective of someone who has taken the survey. Remembering dreams, catching the hypnagogic state. That one's a fun one. I wouldn't recommend doing the catching the hypnagogic state if you have difficulty falling asleep. That's for a person who falls asleep easily, because you're going to disturb your sleep. Number 11, dreaming and problem solving. This is a fun one. Signs of drug abuse. Again, this is one where we've got 2 surveys, and I recommend that you have somebody else take it. And then for your report to me, again, here's the red italics. Okay, so those are your choices. So in this assignment, you'll pick one, you'll complete the assignment, and then here's your submit assignment button. Over here, if you haven't worked in Canvas before, you will appreciate that they've got this grayed out area where we normally never look on web pages, and that's where they've put the submit assignment button. So you'll click on the submit assignment button, and your choices are to either upload a file, and you browse and find it on your computer and just go ahead and attach the file. Please do not use the comments button. I don't need you to put any comments. If you don't want to do a file upload, you can do text entry, which is this tab, and you can actually either type or you can copy and paste your work directly in here. And then you're going to have to click on this. This assignment submission is my own original work, and your assignment is going to be run through a program called Turnitin.com that looks for signs of plagiarism, looks for evidence that your answer overlaps existing answers out on the internet or existing answers in this classroom, looking for evidence of overlap. And then you click Submit Assignment. Now in the Turnitin.com report, I'd like to point out that if you have done like I've asked and you've copied and pasted my questions into your answer, right away you're going to get, something between 5 and 10% overlap score from Turnitin.com because your answer matches my questions that are out in the internet. And so try not to panic if you see some overlap on the Turnitin. What we're looking for is, to be in the blue or the green area. We don't want to see you in the yellow, the orange, or the red area because that implies too much overlap. Now I'm going back to the syllabus because the rules for submitting your project and what I'm expecting are on your syllabus. So remember I told you to print your syllabus? That's what this can be really useful for. So preparing your projects, you're going to select one. Do not do more than one project from one list. Sometimes students will say to me, well, I liked a lot of them that were on the Project 1 list, and I'm really not that interested in any of them on the Project 2 list. Can I just do a second one from the Project 1 list? I've designed these projects to correspond to what we're studying at any given time in the class, and so I need you to pick from the list that is currently the assignment. Okay. Now, what will you be graded on? Accuracy. Every project has some accuracy component to it. There's something that is right or wrong. If you've read your textbook, you'll know the answer to some of those sleep IQ questions, for example. There are some factual components. So any inaccuracies are going to lead to points deduction. Completeness is the thing that normally students lose points on. They won't answer all of my red italic questions. Make sure when you think you're done to go back and make sure. It says, tell me whether you think this, we'll use the drug abuse and audit scales as examples. Tell me whether you think a set of surveys like this would be useful for identifying drug and alcohol abusers. Describe any shortcomings in the questions that you notice and any shortcomings you can see in using self-report surveys. So really that's 3 different questions that I've asked. You need to answer all 3 of them. If your answer is incomplete, then you'll lose points. Now, every project has sort of its own little flavor. You'll notice there were, 3 where you took a survey and then analyzed the survey. There was at least 1 where you were supposed to go on the internet and write a report about somebody. There were a couple where you could collect data and tell me what you found, either an observation or doing an experiment on a friend. They all have sort of their own unique set of expectations. The one thing that I'm looking for is that you've completely answered everything that I've asked and that you have written at least 150 words. Sometimes students will give me like 3 sentences and not even, I will tell you one thing that will irritate me no end is if you don't even tell me what project you're doing, you give me 3 sentences of, I don't think this survey was very good. I think this survey could have, could produce results for a person who doesn't give an honest answer. There were 3 surveys on the list of choices, and you haven't identified what survey you're talking about. You could make that complaint about any survey that exists in psychology. You have to let me know what you're talking about so that I can grade it accurately. Okay, so set me up with the most clear setup of what project you're doing. Give me explanation. Like, okay, when you're done writing, if a person did not know what I was talking about, have I made it clear what I'm talking about? So usually you'll exceed the 150 words very easily just by explaining. Give me your perspective. Tell me what you think. This isn't one of those, research assignments where there's formality. This is more like a journal kind of thing where I really want to hear what you think, what you're gaining from the exercise, any insights that you gained. Remember, I'm a psychologist. I want to know that you're learning. I want to know that your perspective is broadening. I want to know that you thought this assignment was not that useful, that you can't believe that this is an existing survey. You know what I mean? I want to know what you think about stuff. The last criteria for the project grading is timeliness, and really it's kind of a moot point because you cannot submit projects late. The Dropbox will literally lock you out. If we look at our Dropbox assignment here, let's see if I can, it says it's due by, and it tells you what the date is. It literally will lock you out. You will not be able to open the Dropbox. It will not function anymore once that deadline has passed. So due date is critical. You will not. So the timeliness is not, it's a pass-fail thing. If you didn't get it in on time, you didn't get it in on time. Now, if I'm having a significant amount of difficulty reading your paper, I can invoke this, if you're writing to me in text lingo, if you are using grammar that's unintelligible, things like that, I will deduct points for that. But I rarely ever invoke that. That almost always is just a gimme. I don't take off for that usually because most students do a good job of writing in a coherent way, intending to make it something that I can understand. Remember, I'm not 18. I'm not necessarily up on the hippest text lingo, so write it for an older person, please. An older person with a PhD who expects stuff to be in coherent sentences. So psychological scales, I repeated here, please do not submit your scores on these scales to me. I don't want to see a copy and paste of your Sleep IQ quiz results. I want to see your insights about the surveys. And then this shows you how to submit your projects. You can do it as an attached file, and I showed you how. If you have a docx, an RTF, or a TXT file, those work the best. If you can't save in one of those styles, then you go with the text entry method. I really recommend against typing directly into the text entry box because sometimes especially if you're on a smartphone, the thing will recycle itself periodically, and sometimes what you've typed in will completely disappear on you and you will want to kill somebody. That's not a fun experience. So I recommend if you use the text entry, create it in a software, copy and paste it into the text entry. Don't sit there and type it and then lose it. So I've already mentioned that it'll lock you out. When will I read it? The day after the due date. So if you do submit your projects early, which you're more than welcome to do, I don't read them until the day after they're due. I like to sit down all at one time, get them all done with. I know that everybody's been locked out at this point, so nothing else is going to come in. And so I read them all after their due date. So please don't send me an inbox message asking if I've read your project or did I get your project. I should put this on the syllabus, but I forgot to this quarter. To check and see whether your assignment has been correctly submitted, I'm going to submit something real quick here, if I can. There it is. I just upgraded to Windows 8, so anybody else who has empathy for that, I'm having difficulty with it. So I'm going to put in the text box, this is my project. Okay, so that'll be my assignment. Okay, I'm going to say, yes, this is my own work. I did generate that sentence on my own, and I'm going to submit my assignment. I'll tell you if you write this, you will not get good points. Okay, first off, see this on the right-hand side? Turned in. Okay, now you can click on Submission Details, view the original entry, resubmit the assignment. If you submit your assignment as a text box, it'll substitute your new submission for the old one, as long as you're before the deadline. If you submit it as a text file, you can put an addendum. You can put another text file in if you want. So this shows me I successfully turned it in. But again, if you're working on a smartphone or one of these devices that can sometimes not give you good connections, you can also double check by going to the grades button, which is over here on the left or up here on the top. And notice under project 1, I have this little icon. So that shows me that I have submitted something. The fact that it's still that icon and not a points value shows that the teacher hasn't graded it yet. So this shows me I submitted it, but my teacher hasn't graded it yet. So that's how you can feel secure. Don't send me an inbox message and expect me to go to the grade. What I have to do, if you ask me that, I have to go to people, find you, click on a button called grades, scroll down and look to see whether you submitted it. Whereas for you, all you have to do is click on the grades button and look for this icon. So I do get a little bit irritated when you guys ask me to do something way harder than what it would take for you to check the answer to your own question. So just click on the grades button, look for the icon, you know you're safe. You'll notice that until the points have been entered on all these things that are done in the psych portal, you'll just see dashes. So for now, that's normal. Once I take the syllabus quiz, points will show up there because that gets automatically graded. So, all right, well, that's enough on this lecture. I will come back with another lecture on how to do your exams.